Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes, where we look at the forecast in the stars and numbers. Now, we are going to focus on the Capricorn full moon today, which happens on June 24th, with the moon at 3 degrees Capricorn, the sun at 3 degrees Cancer. And it's exact on June 24th at 7:40 p.m. Universal Time, and that's 2:40 p.m. Eastern Time, New York, and 11:40 a.m. LA Pacific Time. And of course, you don't need to be a Capricorn to benefit from this forecast. You have Capricorn somewhere in your chart, so this full moon is showing up in Cancer and Capricorn in your astrology birth chart and impacting you in a very specific way. So Capricorn's the sign of dedication and work and career. So this full moon signifies a renewed commitment and dedication. So the question really is, what are you dedicating your energy to? Let's look more closely at the dynamics and the codes in play. First of all, there's Capricorn and Cancer. There's a gorgeous trine from the sun to Jupiter and from the moon sextile Jupiter, which is a beautiful triangle. Jupiter being all about joy, expansion, wisdom, justice. And there are two oppositions, Venus opposite Pluto and Mars opposite Saturn. So when you consider that the full moon is an opposition between sun and moon, there's a lot of rebalancing of energy that is going on here. So taking authority of what you find is the key to your inner peace. So not being afraid of what shows up, accepting the truth as it appears, not judging it, wishing it away, ignoring it, whatever the case may be, accepting how life shows up, dealing with it, and moving on. That is the key to not wasting energy and not wasting time. And it takes effort to do that, obviously. And Capricorn is the sign of all of those, not wasting energy, not wasting time, and effort, digging in and creating security. So if you want to build a strong structure that can withstand anything, it takes deep, committed effort and patience. So you want to decide what to keep and what to let go in this whole process. And that's a real metaphor for Capricorn too, which is an earth sign. So Capricorn, which is where the moon is, deals with facts. And Cancer, where the sun is, deals with feelings. Now, the moon is the ruler of Cancer, so we're really coming to terms with the true nature of our feelings. For example, all of our opinions, assumptions, judgments, evaluations, fantasies, wishes, those are not facts. Those are fiction. And they're a particular point of view, the point of view that you have, right? It's the you that is the voice in your head that believes and truly feels that what is actually fiction is fact. But this is the false sense of self, and it's false because it doesn't actually exist. It's made up of ideas manufactured by programming, and Capricorn represents this programming. Capricorn represents the top-down leadership and the past and cultural indoctrination. And due to the nature of this particular full moon that has so many oppositions, we are needing to find that inner balance now. So we're not pulled into the past or pulled into the future. And so it's very important to understand that there's nothing real behind this voice in your head that really is just regurgitating indoctrination. It's just a voice. And your conditioning is part of this programming, and it behaves very similarly to programming. So some of the biggest fictions that are created by the voice in your head are about the past and the future. And Cancer represents being, having worries about what might come. And there's just this whole sense with this full moon of really confronting the past and future and what they truly are, which is they're all made up. They're not real, right? Being stuck in the past or worrying about the future, which is very Cancerian, which is where the sun is, is a real waste of time and waste of energy. And even more dangerous than that, it can take you down rabbit holes emotionally, right? Drama, all of that. So you may think that when you think about the past, that you're remembering the past the way it was, but you're actually just remembering your version of the past from your point of view. And what is your point of view in this case? It's the ego's point of view. It is not objective. When your mind recalls the past, it is a story that it spins that is all about you. You are the center of the story. How you felt, what you did, what other people said to you or did in a relationship to you, how that felt to you. In your memories, you are the central character of the story, you are the star of the story, and therefore it's an incomplete story, as all stories are. And incomplete stories are not the truth. They can't be the truth because it's not the whole truth, right? And this is why we suffer so much when we get stuck in the past. It's an incomplete story that's told. We can't learn from it. It's very often a sad story or a story about resentment or some other story that leads to some feelings and drama of some sort. And then there are all the fictions that are created through our imagination around these stories. For example, could I have done something different? Should I have been different? Et cetera, or this person shouldn't have done that, or, life isn't fair. Why is this happening? How can God do this? That kind of stuff. So there are a lot of these sort of magnifications of pain that we create. And those thoughts arise in our mind anytime something happens that is unwanted, right? But they only create more pain. So when you use the words could or should, which, in my view, they are not good words to have in your vocabulary because, first of all, they're downers. And second of all, they pretend to know about something. It has no basis in reality whatsoever. They're really useless and they're untrue and they cause suffering. So things couldn't have or shouldn't have been different. They were what they were and there's no changing that. And it's the ego constantly wants to change things, right? So such thoughts of should and could are very torturous and they can linger in people for many, many years. Totally unnecessary suffering is caused by them. So the truth sets you free from this suffering because the truth is the whole picture and not just your limited mind's point of view of what happened. And the truth includes the whole truth. It includes the higher perspective, the understanding, the growth, the wisdom, the soul's perspective. And that's when you grasp the whole picture, the purpose that some event might be serving your soul. And purpose is what Capricorn is also all about, right? Capricorn knows and teaches that every event serves the soul in some way. There is a higher power, there is a higher order at work, a divine order, and it is wise and it is benevolent. And this order is represented by Capricorn. And if you don't trust in that order, you become a victim of life. And that's the shadow side of Cancer, is feeling victimized. So your soul willingly chooses to experience whatever you've experienced. And this is for its own growth, for its own evolution, because your soul knows that it will gain something from every experience in some way. So people don't generally see when they use words like could have or should have as really fabrication. And they also don't see that they're never going to get an answer. And that by doing so, they're actually getting themselves into more pain. And that the ego is magnifying that suffering. And so this is really a web that is created, like the hamster wheel voice in your head seems true and reasonable, but it's actually causing you to hurt more and thinking that this shouldn't have happened or life is unfair or you could have done something differently. And these statements seem to be true, and that's what makes them so easily taken on. But they are literally imaginative alternative scenarios that have no place in your present moment awareness. Because there's only one way out of this craziness, and that's the present moment. But the ego will not suggest that. The voice in your head is not what is going to bring you that inner peace. Only the truth can do that. The truth is not found in the limited egoic mind. You have to be willing to look somewhere else for the truth. And where do you find it? Well, it's in resting in the present moment and opening up and listening to that inner wisdom that is always there. It speaks silently to you. It speaks wordlessly to you. And it's in that present moment that you find the acceptance and the peace. And this is where you can rest from that self-torture of what if and could have and should have. And so we looked at that, but then what about the future? So that was the past, could have, should have. The future is even more of a fiction, obviously, than the past because it hasn't happened. So the mind loves to think about the future. It's almost like a huge distraction from the present moment, you could call that, right? And sometimes you do need to think about the future just for practical planning purposes, but much of what the mind thinks about the future is just pure like imagination, conjecture, made up. So, for example, if you're going to some kind of meeting or social event, you imagine yourself being at this meeting and how you're going to be and blah, blah, blah. And is that useful in any way? I mean, it's one thing to prepare for the meeting, do what you need to do before you get there. And some of that is important. You imagine what you need to bring, you prepare, you see how long it will take you to prepare, to travel or drive to the meeting. All of this makes sense, right? This is practical. It's using your rational mind to prepare for something that is going to happen or most likely will happen. But it's very different than imagining yourself in the context of the meeting that has not happened, what you'll do, what people will say to you, imagining how the meeting will turn out. That is pure fantasy. So these thoughts of imagining yourself in this situation don't come from your rational mind. They come from your egoic mind. And the difference is that you're at the center of the thought. So you are the one that these thoughts are about, right? So is that a useful thing to do? Is it useful to imagine a positive outcome that might be helpful in overriding some negative voice in your head? Yes, that is somewhat useful, but there is another way of approaching this, being present in the moment. The best thing to conquer any fear or nervousness about the future is allowing you to be so in the flow that your actions and feelings and speech are all inspired. In other words, you will bring balance to your life by discarding the egoic mind that wants to know what's going to happen in the future and control it, to discarding that completely. Because this egoic mind, for the most part, will sabotage your life rather than try to work with accepting life. And it basically turns your attention away from the present moment. And so this is very important to understand, because the way you create joy and peace and total flow in your life is to be present. That's how you create the best possible outcomes. You don't prepare for how you're going to act and how people will act towards you, right? So creating the best possible outcome for yourself is also very Capricornian. Capricorn is a sign of leadership. It governs your career. And so being in the present moment should be taught to anybody who is in the world of career, who runs their own business. It certainly isn't what business schools teach. So it is important, rather than trying to mold yourself into an image of a successful person, just Be in the moment. Respond to life as it happens. Be natural. Be natural, right? Prepare for that meeting, but then let go and respond to the moment, to whatever shows up, right? Respond from that place of being in the flow, because you are a spark of the divine. See yourself as that. See yourself in this way and not as a fantasy where you're trying to imagine all scenarios before they happen or worry about how you were in the past. It's a fact that you are a spark of the divine. And so any other way you see yourself is fictional. And so you're just trying to create a buffer of security that is false by the ego if you don't just trust. And so this is just part of your spiritual journey, your spiritual path, your path home to love and trust and forgiveness and happiness and peace. So allow the moon in Capricorn and the sun in Cancer, the nurturing sun in Cancer, to love your life into reality, to just be. No strings attached, past, future. They're not even relevant to you anymore, aside from practical planning purposes, which is in the moment, rational thinking. There is nothing you need to pay attention to regarding the past or future. Just live in this moment. And this is really what the oppositions between Mars and Saturn and Venus and Pluto, this is what they are teaching, is to be in that place of beauty, of release, of total dedication and acceptance, so that you are literally available energetically to life, fully available to the person in front of you, to the work you're doing that's in front of you, to the joy you're feeling, to the connection with nature. You're just there. You're not comparing. You're just absolutely blissfully there. So this is the message for the Capricorn full moon. And of course, you also have a star code, just like this full moon forecast has a star code map. You were born with a star code map. And I have a free masterclass for you where you can discover all about your soul code at starcodeclass.com. And not only will you learn all about yourself, but you'll learn all about the souls of your family and friends, so that you can have the ultimate compassion and empathy and support for them along the way, this incredible journey on Earth. So enjoy that masterclass at starcodeclass.com. And I look forward to seeing you next week in our next Star Codes podcast. Bye-bye for now.